Colton McGraw was a cowboy forged by the land itself, a man whose silence was heavier than words and whose heart yearned for nothing more than peace after years of drifting from dusty trail to dusty trail, fighting cattle rustlers, breaking wild broncs, and surviving shootouts that left scars across his skin and his soul. And all he ever dreamed of was a quiet wife to come home to, a gentle woman who would pour his coffee in the morning and hum soft hymns while she sewed by lamplight. But the West had never given him what he asked for, only what it thought he needed. And the day he met Savannah Hart was the day his dream of peace was replaced with a storm he could never hope to control. For she didn't walk into his life with the grace of a soft-spoken lady. She rode in like thunder, hair the color of fire whipping behind her as she leaned low over the neck of a runaway Mustang, her laughter wild and sharp as a coyote's cry. And when Colton caught sight of her from the fence line, the world seemed to tilt because everything about her screamed trouble. From the way she dared danger without flinching to the way her eyes, green as new spring grass, locked onto his as if she had already measured his soul and decided it was worth testing. And though Colton swore to himself right then that he wanted nothing to do with her, that he needed silence, not fire, his chest burned with something he hadn't felt in years, a mix of anger, desire, and the kind of restless pull that no whiskey or prayer could chase away. And so when she rode that Mustang straight into his corral and tamed it beneath his very nose, sliding off the horse with dust clinging to her boots and a grin carved from pure mischief, Colton McGraw knew his quiet life had just been shattered. Because Savannah Hart was not the kind of woman who could be told where to stand or when to speak. She was wild through and through, and he could already feel that she wasn't just going to test his patience. She was going to ride him till dawn in ways he wasn't ready to admit. Not to the town, not to the preacher, not even to himself. Colton McGraw had spent the better part of his life breaking broncs and bending the wild to his will. But no horse, no storm, no outlaw had ever rattled him the way Savannah Hart did. And as dawn spilled gold across the plains the morning after she barged into his world, he found her again where she didn't belong, standing in his barn, her boots up on a hay bale, his hat tipped low over her fiery hair, and his prized stallion saddled beneath her as if it were the most natural thing in the world. And when he demanded she get down, his voice rough with authority, she only smiled that dangerous smile of hers, the kind that promised chaos and dared him to stop her. And before he could move, she dug her heels into the horse's sides and shot out of the barn like a bullet, leaving Colton cursing as he swung into his own saddle and gave chase. The two of them tearing across the prairie in a reckless race that raised dust clouds behind them, her laughter ringing through the morning air like a war cry. And when he finally caught her, reining her hard by the bridle, their eyes clashed, his steady and storm-dark, hers bright and untamed. And in that moment he realized he wasn't chasing her to stop her. He was chasing her because she made him feel alive in a way the quiet life never could. And though he told himself again that he wanted peace, that a wild woman like Savannah would be the ruin of him, his hands betrayed him as they lingered on hers, strong and warm on the reins, and when she leaned in close enough for her breath to brush his cheek, whispering that no man could ever cage her. Colton McGraw knew deep down that the fight he thought he was having with her was really a fight within himself. And the West itself seemed to watch, holding its breath, as a cowboy who had always wanted quiet began to realize that maybe he was born for fire instead. The town of Dust Creek had seen its share of fights, floods and feuds, but it had never seen the fire that burned between Colton McGraw and Savannah Hart, a fire too wild to be hidden and too fierce to be ignored. And as the Cattlemen's Festival lit up the night with lanterns strung across the main street and fiddles sawing fast tunes inside the saloon, Colton leaned against the post outside, his hat low, watching Savannah move through the crowd like she owned the whole damn place, her skirts swaying, her boots striking the boards in rhythm with the music, her laughter sharp and sweet enough to draw every eye. And though men stared at her with envy and women whispered about her recklessness, she never flinched, never softened, never tried to be what they thought she should be. And Colton's chest burned with a mix of pride and jealousy, knowing she wasn't the quiet wife he once prayed for, but the wild heart he couldn't let go of. And when a drunken ranch hand grabbed her wrist too rough, trying to yank her into his arms, she spun like lightning, drove her boot into his shin, and sent him sprawling into the dirt while the crowd roared. And in that moment, Colton pushed through the onlookers, grabbed her hand and pulled her close beneath the gaslights, his voice low and rough as he told her he was done fighting her, done pretending he wanted peace when what he really needed was her fire. And as her green eyes blazed and her lips curved into that dangerous smile, She kissed him hard, sealing the truth in front of the whole town, that Colton McGraw hadn't been tamed by a quiet wife. He had been claimed by a wild one, and the West itself would remember the night they rode each other till dawn, not as a battle lost, but as a storm finally embraced.